All right, buddy, welcome to the show. The race is now in full effect. 2024 is in full effect. We have roughly 715 candidates on the Republican side. Of course, we have the 3 candidates on the Democratic side. It's getting interesting, man. It's getting interesting. Trump and DeSantis cannot stop hitting each other, and I'm definitely here for it. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to get into CNN is in real trouble, dude. They brought in this new CEO, Chris Licht, and the idea was, oh, don't worry, he'll clean up house. It's all good. He'll fix it. He's got a vision. He's going to execute it. He's had success previously with other ventures. Full faith and confidence. Well, we're a year into his reign, and you have full-on mutiny and revolt and implosion over at CNN. Total and utter collapse. It's an amazing thing to see. We also have the Supreme Court doing Supreme Court things and proving that they are beyond reckless and hell-bent on destroying organized labor. That's not an overstatement. That's not hyperbole. I'll tell you about the new decision which just came down, which absolutely crushes worker power. And then we have Republican book bans backfiring, and Jordan Peterson lets his mask slip quite a bit, if I don't say so myself. You're not going to believe what he says. You're not going to believe what he says. We'll get to it a little bit later in the show. But before we dive into it, everybody knows, do I really have to do this every day? Do I really have to do this every day? Just fill in the blanks with the shameless plugs. Just you do them yourself. Like just click subscribe, click like, click that bell icon so you get a notification every single time a video drops. Please, if you can, support the show on Patreon or tip on YouTube or support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. Much love to everybody who already does that. All right, let's go ahead, put those shameless plugs behind us. Let's go ahead and jump into it here. So Donald Trump surprises us quite often. The thing that's interesting about Donald Trump is that he has so few real ideological commitments that every now and then he'll say something where you're like, oh shit, that's kind of true, bro. And it makes him endlessly entertaining. You know, mix that in with the charisma and the fact that he talks at like a 3rd grade level and everybody just eats it up. They eat it up. All right, so here's Trump. He's giving a speech in Iowa and he goes anti-woke. So he's against the anti-woke people. Let's listen to the full clip, and then I'll play you guys the response from Ron DeSantis.
That's great. Congratulations. Very big on school choice. Can you imagine we even have to talk about parental control and basically having parents get involved? We have school systems that don't even want to talk to the parents about their children. And you talk about changing gender and things where the child can make a choice and the child can be unbelievably young. The country.
So I'm just pausing here to point out, note the argument he just made. Note the argument he just made. Standard, anti-trans, this is basically everybody on the right is doing this nowadays. Just keep that in mind as we continue.
The country has gone sick. It's gone sick. And I don't like the term woke because I hear woke. It's like just a term that half the people can't even define it. They don't know what it is.
So that last part right there is blowing up on Twitter and is blowing up in political circles everywhere. Because the anti-woke crusade is now Republican politics 101. It is like the cornerstone of right-wing politics. But Donald Trump just touched the 3rd rail. Listen to it one more time.
The country has gone sick. It's gone sick. And I don't like the term woke because I hear woke. It's like just a term that half the people can't even define it. They don't know what it is.
You got to hand it to the big guy. He's right about that last part. I mean, you go ask 10 different conservatives, do me a favor and define woke. You will get 10 different answers. You might get 2 or 3 of them that are sort of similar, where if you're kind, you can connect the dots and say, okay, I see where you're coming from. But the majority of them, you're going to be like, you don't even know what you're talking about. You've just been told to dislike this thing, and so it's like a Pavlovian response, like you're a dog, and you're like, okay, I hate this thing. Fine, I hate this thing, and I'm going to crusade against this thing, and I'm going to be really angry and red in the face with spittle coming off my lips as I scream about this thing. But he's right. I mean, that point is true. But, of course, the reason why he makes this argument, let's not get it twisted, is that Ron DeSantis is like the king of anti-wokeness. And that's been like the main thing he talks about. The main thing, that's part of his governance in Florida is being anti-woke. He literally passed the Stop Woke Act, which, by the way, was at least in part struck down because it was unconstitutional. I mean, a lot of the stuff that Ron DeSantis is doing is part and parcel of this rise of the anti-woke online. Okay, so Ron DeSantis is asked about this by a reporter. I believe he's also in Iowa. He says, quote, "Well, woke is an existential threat to our society. It's an attack on truth. It's a form of cultural Marxism, and it really subordinates merit and achievement to things like identity politics. You can't have a vibrant free society if every institution is dominated by woke ideology, and to say it's not a big deal, that just shows you don't understand what a lot of these issues are right now. If you're attempting to define something, don't use terminology which you then also have to define, right? So when he says, everybody knows wokeness is a form of cultural Marxism, bro. Do you think your average American has any idea what cultural Marxism is? If I asked you to define cultural Marxism, Ron DeSantis, are you going to give a straightforward, understandable definition to cultural Marxism? This is the kind of talk that's going to make normies' eyes roll in the back of their head. You can't say wokeness is an existential threat and it's a form of cultural Marxism, because people be like, what's cultural Marxism? I don't understand. Well, it's an existential threat, but it's this thing that I can't even define what it is. I don't even know what it is. So you're kind of proving Donald Trump's point here. You're kind of proving Donald Trump's point. But he's not done yet. Ron DeSantis continues, because all he has. All he has is, I'm going to lean into I'm the anti-woke guy. I'm the anti-woke guy. And so then we get this moment.
As president, I recognize that the woke mind virus represents a war on the truth, so we will wage a war on the woke. We will fight the woke in education. We will fight the woke in the corporations. We will fight the woke in the halls of Congress. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. We will make woke ideology, leave it to the dustbin of history. It's gone.
So you're going to use the Winston Churchill quote, that famous Winston Churchill quote, but you're going to talk about the woke instead of Nazis, right? It's an existential threat to our society. I'm going to read it one more time for you. I recognize the woke mind virus represents a war on truth, so we will wage war on the woke. We will fight the woke in education. We will fight the woke in corporations. We will fight the woke in the halls of Congress. Let me make something very clear to everybody. Personally, I don't care what opinion you have on wokeness. You could be pro-wokeness. You could be anti-wokeness. You could be somewhere in the middle. But the bottom line is this. If you think this is going to win a presidential campaign, you got another thing coming for you. Because what you're doing is you're elevating this issue above bread and butter issues, above kitchen table issues, above wages, above taxes, above income and wealth inequality, above foreign policy. This is not going to get you across the finish line. He says, oh, this just proves that Trump doesn't understand what a lot of these issues are right now. Well, did you listen to the first part of his quote? Because the first part of his quote is going after gender ideology, which is what you would say, hey, this is wokeness. So what Trump is saying is, yeah, I'm going to go after wokeness too, but I just don't like the term wokeness. But they're interpreting it as, oh no, he doesn't even understand the issues. He's not down for our right-wing struggle. He is a mirror image of you on these exact issues. He just doesn't like the term woke, and the reason he doesn't like it is because you, Ron DeSantis, have been the one to hammer it over and over and over and basically make it played out. The term, we have reached peak wokeness. I have no doubt about it. Peak woke mania, woke hysteria. We've definitely reached peak woke hysteria. Because now it's tired, it's stale. And like I said, you think you're going to win a national campaign running on that? I got news for you, bro. Far right-wing circles online, that's not real life. That's not the moderate voter. That's not the median American. That's not the normie who goes and casts a vote every 4 years for the presidential race but doesn't think much about politics in between. That person's just trying to pay their bills. That's all they're doing. They're trying to pay their bills. So, look, I love the war. I love it that they're fighting. I love it that they're going at it. I'm enjoying every single second of it. But the fact of the matter is this. Trump and DeSantis totally agree on fighting wokeness. Just clearly DeSantis likes calling it wokeness, and Trump is annoyed with the term wokeness. Which, like I said, I go a step further. I think the criticism of wokeness from Donald Trump, the second half of what he said there, is not just accurate. It's more accurate than even he realizes, because he's hammering away on all these issues like they matter, right? But this is the culture war stuff that the right does. And make no mistake about it, the reason they do it, the reason they lean into it, is because it's a nice, comfy distraction. In the same way that the uber fundamentalist Christianity back in the George W. Bush days, that was a nice, pretty distraction. They even said it. Dick Cheney and George W. Bush said it. They were like, yeah, like, feed this slop to the masses, to our idiot voters in middle America. This is them talking. Feed it to them, and then we'll go ahead and do more tax cuts and do more deregulation. So we'll keep serving the oligarchs and the economic royalists as we just throw whatever they want at them when it comes to social issues. But of course, the downside is this stuff is incredibly dangerous because there's a rising tide of anti-trans crusading and anti-gay crusading even at this point. We've even regressed on that issue in terms of the right when they have power, what they do with it. Abortion is another issue, right? They're going to go as extreme as humanly possible. We're already seeing it. So the main disagreement here is just over the term woke. But clearly, if you listen to the full clip of Trump in context, he's against all the same stuff DeSantis is against. The difference is Trump also is politically intelligent enough to also go out there and say stuff like, don't cut Social Security, don't cut Medicare, you know, and these are things that DeSantis is just going gonzo on. Trump is even hitting DeSantis on wanting to do a national sales tax of 23%, which would be a tax on working class people. And so Trump, despite all of his flaws, and he's got many of them, this is one of the reasons why he's beating DeSantis into the ground. It's because if all you got is your anti-woke crusade, that ain't going to cut it, dog. That ain't going to cut it. But look, I hope Trump goes even further into that criticism. Like I said, he's a shapeshifter. He's a shapeshifter. He's got no core ideology, so he'll just adjust all the time. But I'd love for him to go even further into this anti-woke crusade, because it's about time that these people realize just how much they overreached and just how gone they are. Because this does not represent the middle of the country. When you have the anti-woke people are now all the ones leading the boycotts, leading the cancellations. Used to be viewed as only the left cancels people. The right is canceling people left and right. The right is coming up with a new boycott every other day, not because a corporation is exploiting, slave labor overseas, but because they're, God forbid, they have a pride flag on their website. So this is where we're at right now. And DeSantis is trying to win the heart of the base, but the vibes are off, man, and they're still with Donald Trump. There's no doubt about that. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.